from being the king that everyone worshipped in the NBA to potentially losing in the 2023 games. Here's what Michael Jordan really thinks of the NBA today. MJ has reset history with his skills. No one can claim to be the greatest player, not while the GOAT still lives. But what does the basketball legend think of the same youth that aspires to be like him? Spoiler, it isn't as pretty as you may think, but the real question is he right? Or is he just bitter that he can't play anymore? To quote MJ, "Clutch players aren't born, they're made," which basically means genes won't do what hard work will. It's not news that MJ's any basketball fan's fave human being, among other basketball legends like Kobe Bryant, Larry Bird, Jerry West, and Kevin Durant. Kids all over the US look up to these legends, especially the ones that want to become basketball players themselves. And while there's a lot of talent coming in and out of the basketball court, MJ's still sure there isn't any recruit that's clutch material. Jordan thinks there are plenty of guys in the league right now that are playing differently than their playoffs, and he thinks it's because it's a different kind of pressure. He said that these new guys aren't sure of themselves. When everything hinges on one strike, they can't make the hit because they don't believe in themselves, making them a self-fulfilling prophecy. Jordan explained that if anyone's feeling the pressure of a shot, it's because they haven't practiced them, and how the best way to relieve the anxiety of a game's to play it over and over, which is what will prepare them for the unpredictability of the court. Jordan's also brought up the contrast between his generation and the newbies, and he thinks the biggest difference is that the new talent gets paid for their potential. Meanwhile, Jordan used to train his blood, sweat, and tears, but no one saw it. MJ also claims that in basketball you have to be good, but that can't be said for these kids. In fact, Michael thinks no one will know how great they'll be, but they're still getting a 5-year guarantee with millions. And don't forget how admired they are simply because social media is a major thing now. It's not a secret US sports have become a scapegoat to make the big bucks. A lot of folks assume basketball, soccer, and hockey are a great way of whipping up some good cash. And that's exactly why Michael can confidently say, the older basketball legends earned what they got since back in the day. They weren't paid until the games had started. So is he really wrong? The basketball player was right when he said, "These younger kids shouldn't be getting paid millions before they even step foot into the season or play even one game." The leagues are only rolling their dice since they can't tell if any of the fresh blood's any good. This brings me back to MJ's first comment. No one saw the blood, sweat, and tears that went into my practice. Jordan claims no one trained harder than those NBA stars you see and love today. And it has nothing to do with extraordinary DNA or an easy shortcut. He became what he is today by practicing harder than he played. He created his comfort zone in his pain, which is what made it easy to react on the court, because he was simply doing what his body already knew by memory. In fact, the NBA legend says he missed 9,000 shots in his life. And that's how he found success. Most people assumed that was his way of saying practice makes perfect. But that wasn't all there was to his quote. In Michael's own words, he lost almost 300 games. He'd been trusted to take the game-winning shot and missed 26 times. He's failed over and over and over again in his life. And that's exactly why he succeeded. So, yeah, turns out the legendary basketball king has kept track of losses, almost like the world has a record of his wins. And if the man says he missed more than 9,000 shots, you better believe it. That said, MJ thinks this is exactly what's missing in the new players. In his eyes, they're losing their touch because they aren't doing what it takes to take the game to the next level, which means practice till your feet drop. But is the lack of passion the only reason why the old gen players don't respect today's game? No, absolutely not. There are many reasons that the older NBA players aren't huge fans of today's game, but the biggest one remains the players' lack of passion and determination. Not to mention that there have been many updates in the court, which have changed the rules of the game altogether. From the old Rock'em and Sock'em teams to newer ones, the "you come near me, I'll sue you" teams. If you're truly a basketball fan, you remember the good old days, when hand-checking was just part of the game. And no one batted an eye when Bill Laimbeer choked players on television. In fact, Kevin Garnett had something to say about this turn of events. He spoke about how 20 years ago, players could use their hands to control players. But now they can't, which makes the defense damn near impossible. While KD seemed to give the younger generation credit for playing in such a game, Shaq didn't hesitate to call out how soft the game's gotten. In fact, he's not about to let an okay play get known as a great play. No, not on his watch. Though it's an era we have to accept, Shaq won't be letting it slide because he's seen what greatness looks like. And Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's right there with him, revealing how he doesn't exactly appreciate today's game. He thinks today's game isn't as much about strength and strategy, but more so about pull-ups and guards. The old champ doesn't even enjoy watching today's NBA, since they've changed the nature of the game by putting a premium charge on a low-percentage shot, while their arguments are simply from their experience in the old game. Some people think it may be because of bitterness, because deep down, MJ and everyone else knows they won't be able to win today. Not without being able to tackle their opponents and shooting higher strikes. So, is it really about a lack of passion, or is there a hint of jealousy involved? When there's a question about internet beef, you can definitely look at Kevin Durant. While the young basketball star's highly skilled, he totally loves spending his time on Twitter and stirring up trouble. Still, not a lot of folks were expecting him to be this direct with his shots. Check out what he tweeted in response to all the drama. "I'd be bothered by NBA greats that are jealous of this generation. Yikes." The power forward's claim shook the old-school NBA fans, while also stirring up the new ones. They got into a heated debate about whether the Brooklyn Nets star had a point or not. I mean, there's some truth in the fact that the old-gen players won't be able to hold their own on the court. Garnett also agreed that defense is almost impossible now, so maybe there is truth to it all. One thing's for sure, though, there's competition in both old and new school NBA, and the fan bases are very much active and interested. But who's to say the newer generation of players could play against those strapping old men? Back in the 90s, strategy and strength were valued above all. Would these younger kids be able to deliver? That's a question that will stay unanswered. But does that also mean Michael Jordan won't be able to win in today's NBA game? While there are many people that still have faith in MJ's magic, there's no arguing about the fact that he's a 60-year-old man. The era that MJ played in was a completely different battlefield. Now there are too many rules. But again, he earned the name Airness for a reason. Many commenters and sportsmen believe his average will be more than before, which is saying something because his old average is 37, and they say that his new average could be around 50. This is a very bold claim, especially considering how he isn't even in his prime years anymore. The people making these claims are diehard fans, so not the most reliable analysts, which is why the question about whether Michael Jordan can really win today's game, with all the new techniques, rules, and talent, remains unanswered. So, from potentially losing in the 2023 games to being the king that everyone worshipped in the NBA, that was what Michael Jordan really thinks of the NBA today.